Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Brachos Daf Vav. We're 4 lines from the top. Tanya, we've learned in the Brisa, Abba ben Yamin Omer, Abba ben Yamin says as follows: Ilmale, if it were so, that nitnu reshus la'ayin liros, that the human eye had the capacity to take notice, to see, if permission was granted to us to see the shadim and mazikim, the demons and evil forces that surround us, and kol bria, no human being would be able to would be able to stand b'pnei mazikim, in the face of these mazikim. We would simply collapse from fright. So it's actually to our benefit that we don't notice these things. Amra Abaye, inu nefishi minan, they're actually more numerous than us. V'kaimilan, and they surround us. Ki kisla lu'ugya, like the irrigation ditch dug around the mound that has the vine planted on it, so too the mazikim surround us constantly. Amar Puna, how many mazikim are there next to every person? Kol chad v'chad minan, every single one of us has alpha mismale, 1,000 to his left, or rivas samimine, and 10,000 to his right. Apparently they're more attracted to the right side of a person, since the right is more significant, has more chashivas than the left. We know the right hand is more powerful than the left hand. In the spiritual realm, tzad yamin has more significance than the tzad smail. We do mitzvahs with our right hand. So the koichas hara, the evil powers, are attracted in order to balance out the power of good. As we know that the laws of nature are established with the concept of zel umazeh. The powers of tevara are constantly in balance. So to the right of a person requires more koichas hara, more mazikim, in order to balance out, to equalize the yamin, the power of yamin that's inherent on the right side of a person. Amar Rava, Hai duchka, we actually have phenomena that display to us and indicate to us the presence of the mazikim, even if we don't see them. But we have these interesting things that happen that indicate that the mazikim are present. For instance, Haiduchka dahavi b'chala. We go to the chala. Chala is the public lecture in the shul, and there is a feeling of being squeezed, even though we look around and it's very roomy. Why do we feel squeezed? It says Rava minayu havu. The duchka that's present, the havi b'chala minayu havu, is affected by the mazikim that are present, that come to attend the drasha. As we mentioned earlier, the mazikim are attracted to spirituality, and since it is a place of learning, a place of Torah, they're there in great numbers, and hence the feeling of being squeezed. Hani birchi, the shili, the knees that feel tired unexpectedly, minayu hani, are because of the mazikim, because the knees need to push through the powers of mazikim while he's walking, and therefore they get tired. Hanimani de rabbanu de bolu, the garments of the Talmid Chachamim that wear out. Although the Talmid Chachamim engaged in Torah study, they're not involved in manual labor at all. So why are their clothing getting rubbed out? Hanimani de rabbanu de bolu, that are getting worn out. Mechofya de du, they're because the mazikim are rubbing against them. They're attracted to Talmid Chachamim, and they rub against the clothing and wear them out. Hanikari de menakfan, the feet that knock, minayu, are affected by the mazikim, are due to the presence of the mazikim. So in conclusion, we have a few indications of the presence of mazikim. We have the feeling of duchka, of squeezing by the public lecture. We have the tired knees. We have the garments of the rabbanon that are worn out. And we have the feet that knock. Now, why is it important for us to know about the presence of mazikim? Some Mepharshim say that if a person does experience one of these phenomena, he knows that the mazikim are there, he should take measures to protect himself against the mazikim, and especially the Kapitel Tzadik Aleph 91 in Tehillim is very beneficial to protect the person and ward off the evil powers. Continues the Gemara. Haiman de boy limida lehu. If somebody is interested in being aware of their presence, noticing their presence, what should he do? Laisi kitmanehila. He should take ground ash, sifted ash that was ground to a fine powder. V'nahadar apurya, surround it, put it around his bed when he goes to sleep. Because we know when a person's asleep, the mazikim are more present at that time, they're more prevalent, as we know that a person recites Kriya Shema Lamita to protect himself from the spiritual danger of the mazikim that come at the time of sleep, they come at night, balayla. So a person who wants to see the mazikim, wants to be aware of their presence, he should surround his bed with this ash. Ubet Safra, in the morning when he wakes up, Chazi, he will notice, Ki Kari the Tarnagoyla, he will notice footsteps, footmarks of a rooster. As we know that the Shadim, their feet have a shape like a rooster, as Rashi explains in Gittin regarding the story of Ashmedai. So he will be aware that they came by, that they were there to visit. Haiman de boy lemechzinu. If somebody wants to actually see them, so do as follows. Laisi shel yasa de shunursa. Should take the placenta, the afterbirth of a female cat. Uchmasa, a black one, a black cat. Bas uchmasa, the daughter of another black cat. Burchasa bas burchasa. She needs to be the firstborn, the daughter of a firstborn. He takes the shilya, this placenta, v'leklai benura, and he burns it in fire, v'lishchake, and he grinds it, v'limli eine minei, and he puts some in his eye, v'chazilo, and then he will notice the mazik. V'lishdaye begufsa the parzala. He should place the rest of the powder in an iron tube, v'lechasme, and seal it begushpanko the parzala, with an iron seal, dil maganvi minei, so that the mazikim don't come steal it from him. When it's sealed in this manner, they will have no power, they will have no access. V'lachtem pume, and this man should close his mouth, so that he doesn't become harmed by the mazikim. So that's the formula in case a person wants to actually see the mazikim. Says the Gemara, story of Biru Abaye Ovad Hachi. He followed these instructions. Chazi actually noticed them, but he was harmed as a result. Bo Rabbanan Rachmile, the Rabbanan begged mercy on him, they davened for him, and he recovered. So, why is it pertinent to discuss this issue nowadays, where the Rishonim say that the Sheidim Mazikim are not really active nowadays? Well, the concept really exists today as well, because we know that the Yetzer Hara and all his accompanying forces are really just another version of this concept of Sheidim Mazikim, the powers of evil in the world, which Hashem created, Hashem set down to counteract the forces of Toiv, the forces of good, in order to provide us with the opportunity to exercise our free will, our bechira. As it says in the pasuk, Zeh le'uma zeh asa lakim. Hashem created the power zeh, the power of ra, the power of evil, le'uma zeh, to correspond to the power of zeh, the power of toiv, in order to make a balance, so that we should have free will, and we should be able to be zeicha, merit a reward for our exercising of the proper decisions and proper free will. So nowadays too, we need to stand on guard and to stay focused and committed, and not be hampered and distracted by the powers of Ra, the powers of evil, powers of Yetzer Hara, that are trying to constantly distract us from the matter at hand, from the task at hand. We need to persevere and resort to tefillah if necessary, so that Hashem protects us and gives us the clarity to make the right decisions. And the greater the person, the higher the madrega, the greater the spiritual capacity of a person, so too is the presence of the koiches harav, the evil forces that come to challenge the person, in order to balance it out and provide him with that equal opportunity, with that opportunity to do bechira, to exercise and to choose one from the other. So a person should not be discouraged if he experiences a very great challenge. We see, as we mentioned, the place of the learning, of the public lecture, the Talmid Chachamim, especially since they're involved in Torah. One who's involved in Torah and Ruchnius and spirituality, he will attract the Yetzer Hara who comes to challenge him. He need not be dissuaded, and forge ahead, stay focused, and persevere. Continues the Gemara. Tanya Abba ben Yamin Omer. Another brisa in the name of Abba ben Yamin. Ein tefillah shel adam nishmas el bebeis hakneses. A person's tefillah is only heard in a shul. If a person wants that his davening should be on a high level and properly accepted, he needs to do it. It should take place in a shul. What's so special about a shul? It says the Gemara, Shenemar, as we learned, we said in the pasuk, L'shmaya al arina v'latfila, to listen to the singing and to the davening. As Rashi explains, a shul is a place where the tzibur raises their voice in praise to Hashem in melody and song, and therefore that is a place that is appropriate for tefillah, for davening, and the acceptance of tefillah as well. But makam rina shamtei tefillah, the place of singing, of melody, that's where the tefillah should be. Amar Ravan bar Rav Adam Rav Yitzchak benayin shakadosh baruch hu motzu beis hakneses. Where do we find that Hashem is actually present in the shul? Shenema lekim nitzav b'adas kel. Hashem is present b'adas kel, where the Yidden come to meet Him. It's Hashem's meeting place, and Hashem is present there. When there are 10 Yidden davening together, the Shechina, the divine presence, is there with them. Hashem is present in the adas kel, in the gathering, in the meeting place of the people who come to daven to Hashem. What do we know? That 3 people are sitting down to make a din Torah, to judge a court case, that the Shechina, the divine presence, is there with them. Shenemar b'kerev elikim yishpoit, that in the presence of Elohim, which is referring to the Dayanim, the judges and a Bezdin, Hashem will be there, yishpoit, and judge along with them. How do we know that 2 people that are sitting together and learning, the Shechina, the divine presence, is with them as well, even though there are only 2, there are not 3, there are not 10. Shenema oz nitzburu yireh Hashem ishor re'eyu. The yireh Hashem, the fearful of Hashem, will sit and discuss Torah. Vayakshav Hashem vayishma. Hashem will listen to them and be with them. Continues the pasuk. The ending of this pasuk is liyireh Hashem ulechoshvei shemai. Ones who contemplate Hashem's name. Says the Gemara, "Mai lechoshvei shemai." What is this referring to? Ones who think about Hashem, one who contemplates Hashem's name. Amar Rav Ashi, afilu chishav adam la'asas mitzvah. Even if somebody thinks, he contemplates, he plans on fulfilling a mitzvah, but unfortunately v'nenas v'lo ya'asa, he was unavoidably held back, he was prevented from carrying out, from doing the mitzvah. Ma'aleh alav ha'kosav. Hashem credits him, ki'ilu asa, as if he had actually fulfilled the mitzvah and carried out his plans. A person need not worry about the results. We need just to make the effort, make the ishtalus, to plan and to try. The results are not in our hands, and we can be even credited for doing a mitzvah, although we were prevented from carrying out our plan. Continues the Gemara, how do we know that even one person, a Yid, who sits himself and engages in Torah study, the divine presence, the Shechina, is with him, keeps him company? Every place where I will give permission for you to utter my name, which is referring to the time of Torah study, when a person may utter Hashem's name, the psukim that are brought down in the Gemara, etc. A person may say Hashem's name during the time of learning. I will come to you and bless you. Here we see that even an individual, it's a singular term, I will come to you, even a yachid who's sitting and learning, Hashem comes and gives him a bracha. Says the Gemara, if so, that even one person merits the divine presence, so what's the point of having 2 people, or 3 people, or 10 people? Let the Brachos just simply state that any person, even an individual, will merit the Shechina. Why do we need to go through the whole listing of 10, 3, 2, and finally 1? Is there an advantage to having more than 1? Says the Gemara, V'chi ma'achar. If that's so, that afilu chad, even one person is zeicha to the Shechina, Trei mi baya, do you need to express the same thing regarding 2 people? If it exists by 1, certainly by 2. Says the Gemara, there's a difference. There's an advantage, there is an added benefit to having 2 people over 1. A chavrusa together is a much better learning. Today, 2 people that are learning together, michtav and milayu b'seifa zechrenis. Their words are recorded in these seifa zikaron, as it says in the pasuk before. Oz nidbru yireh Hashem ishor re'eu. When 2 people are learning together, so the pasuk continues, vayikasev seifa zikaron lefanav. It will be recorded in the seifa zikaron. Now, Mahashar explains that when 2 people discuss Torah, they have an exchange of ideas and opinions, they generally come to a clarity. They come to a true conclusion regarding the subject, and therefore their words are truly worthy of being recorded. Whereas when one person learns on his own, he's liable to err and to have disclarity, and therefore not necessarily are his words fit to be recorded and written down in a sefer. There's another pshat in Mefarshim that when two people are engaged in Torah study and they debate and they discuss, the give and take between them helps them internalize the lesson that they're learning, and it gets recorded into their being, gets committed to their long-term memory, into the sefer zikaron, and they retain it for long-term. That's something that happens specifically by two people as opposed to one person only sitting and learning on his own. Continues the Gemara. So that's the advantage, that's the added benefit for two people learning together. One person on his own, he doesn't have this mila of being recorded in the Sefer Zechronis. Continues the Gemara. Okay, so we figured out what is the mila, what is the advantage of 2 over 1. But what about 3? Is there a benefit for 3 over 2? Why discuss 3? Why discuss 10? Since we know already that we know that this phenomenon, this added level of learning exists by 2 people, do we need to express the same thing regarding 3? Certainly if it exists by 2, then Talasa will have the same result. Says the Gemara, the Brachos is coming to tell us as follows. When 3 dayanim, 3 people sit together to judge a civil matter, a bezdin, a court case, perhaps I would think that it's not considered Torah, it doesn't have the nature of Talmud Torah, of true engagement in Torah study, and doesn't merit the divine presence. I would think, I would ponder, Dina, judging a civil matter, Shloma ba'almahu, it's merely keeping the peace, it's making peace, it's not really on the same level of Torah study as actual learning. And the Shekhinah won't arrive, Kamash Malon, the Dina Nami Hanu Torah, the Brachos informs us, yes, certainly, this too is a form of Torah study and merits the Shekhinah. Continues the Gemara, one final point, once you've established that even 3 do you need to tell us the same thing regarding 10? Says the Gemara, yes. There's an advantage to 10 people, a minyan, 10 yidden together have an extraordinary power. Asara kodma shchina va'asya. By 10 people, the shchina actually precedes them. Hashem knows that 10 people are arriving. He comes and He precedes them. He comes to the place that they are headed for, even prior to their arrival. Talasa adiyasvi. However, by 3 people, it's only once they've arrived, they've come, they've sat down, now the Shekhinah arrives. So in conclusion, we learned that when people are engaged in Torah study, the Shekhinah, they merit the presence of the divine Shekhinah, of the divine presence, whether it's one person, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 3, whether it's 10, but there is Zeicha on different levels. One Yid who learns is Zeicha to Shekhinah indeed, but 2 who engage in Torah study, they are Zeicha that their words are recorded in the Sefer Zikaron. When 3 people are present, although they're only involved in a din Torah, it nevertheless constitutes Torah and they're Zeicha to the Shekhinah. Certainly when 10 people are together, 10 Yidden, that is already a minyan, and in that case the Shekhinah actually precedes them and awaits their arrival. Continues the Gemara. Amar of Aban bar of Adon of Yitzchak. Minayin shakadosh baruch hu maniach tefillin. How do we know that Hashem wears tefillin? Shenemar nishba Hashem b'minoi ubezroya uzay. Hashem promised in the name of His right, and ubezroya uzay, in the strength of His roya, referring to the left hand, referring to the tefillin, which are worn on the left side. Says the Gemara, b'minoi zu Torah. When Hashem promised b'minoi, that's referring to Torah. Shenemar miminoi eish das lami. The Torah was given from the right side of Hashem. Ubezroya uzay. When the pasuk concludes that Hashem promised b'minoi ubezroya uzay elo tefillin, the Zroya uzay of strength is referring to tefillin. Shenemar Hashem oiz lama yitein. Hashem will give strength, grand strength to His nation, and that is the tefillin. How do we know that it's referring to tefillin? Says the Gemara, Menayin sha tefillin oiz heim li Yisrael. From where do we see that tefillin are considered the oiz, the strength of Klal Yisrael, the chesiv, v'ro kol ami ha'aretz, all the nations of the land will see ki Shem Hashem nikru alecha, that Hashem's name is called on you, is placed on you, v'yaru mekah, and they will have fear from you. But Han Rav Lezer Gadol Omer, This is referring to the Shem Hashem that's Nikra Alecha. It's referring to Elo Tefillin Shebaroish. These are the tefillin that are placed on the head of a Yid. And this would elicit fear amongst the Goyim, amongst the nations of the earth. So we see that tefillin denotes Koyach, Oiz, and Gvura. And when Hashem was Nishba, Be'yimino Yubezroi Uzoi, Be'yimino Yizu Torah, Ubezroi Uzoi Yizu Tefillin, that implies that Hashem wears tefillin just as we do. The Maharsha explains what is the significance of Hashem's wearing tefillin. So he says that the tefillin is dveikus, it is anila doidi, it is how a person ties himself and binds himself to Hashem and to His service. We place it on the hand opposite the heart to be meshabet, to subordinate the feelings, the powers, the desires of our heart. We place it on our heads to connect the thoughts, the process of our brain to the Eibishter, to Hashem. So similarly, anila doidi, when a Yid connects to Hashem, doidi li, Hashem, our friend, connects to us as well, and corresponds by wearing tefillin, which is miramis, which is symbolized Hashem connection and reciprocal dveikus to us as well, an expression of love to Klal Yisrael. Continues the Gemara. Amalei Rav Nachman Rabbi Yisrael Chir Barabin. Hani tefillin de Mari Alma Maksibu. What's contained in the compartments of the tefillin of Hashem's tefillin? We know that in our tefillin we have the 4 parshas, Shema, Vayim Shemaya, Kadesh, Kel Bocher, Vayikviyacha. These parshas contain the zikar and ois, the remembrance of Hashem and His mitzvahs, and we proclaim our commitment and our bond to Hashem's Torah and to service of Hashem. But what's contained in Hashem's tefillin? Amalei umika'amcha Yisrael. Who is like your nation, Yisrael, Gai Echad Ba'aretz, a special, unique nation in the land? So Hashem is priding Himself with Klal Yisrael. That is what Hashem wears in His tefillin. Says the Gemara, Mi mishtabeach kutchabrichu b'shvachai Yisrael. Is that so, that Hashem prides Himself, praises Himself with the praise of Klal Yisrael? Yes, certainly the chsiv, as Hashem he'amarto hayoim. You've made Hashem special, you've praised Hashem, you've glorified Hashem. Hashem he'emir chayim. Similarly, Hashem glorifies you. Hashem tells Klal Yisrael, you've made me stand out. You've praised me with a praise of uniqueness. You've proclaimed me as being the exclusive power in the world. Vani, and so too I will eschem chativa achas ba'olam. I too will praise you and make you feel unique in the world. You've proclaimed my uniqueness in the world. Shenemar Shema Yisrael. Listen, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Everybody, listen, Hashem is the only power in the world. And so too, I too will have you stand out in the world. Shenemar Mika'amcha Yisrael. Who is like Klal Yisrael, Gai Echad Ba'aretz, a unique nation in the land. So that's why this pasuk is contained in Hashem's compartment of tefillin, because Hashem is proud of us. Hashem praises our uniqueness amongst the rest of the nations. Okay, so we have one parsha that's good for one compartment. That's good for one compartment. What about the rest of the bottom? What about the other 3 compartments? What's contained therein? We have other psukim. We have other parshas. For instance, Ki Migoy Gadol. Who is so great a nation like Klal Yisrael? There's another pasuk that says, Umigoy Gadol. Who is a great nation like Klal Yisrael? And both these psukim discuss the dveikus of Klal Yisrael with Hashem through Torah, through Tefillah. Another pasuk which describes the greatness of Klal Yisrael, Ashrech Yisrael, how fortunate are you, Klal Yisrael, that Hashem gives you the power over the nations. Hashem gives you Yeshuas over the nations. Oy Hanisa Lakim. There's another pasuk which describes Hashem's miraculous procurement of Klal Yisrael, that Hashem did nisim v'neflois when He took us out of Mitzrayim. Another pasuk is Sitcha Elyon. Hashem places you supreme above the nations of the earth. So we have many, many parshas that discuss the exclusivity and the praise of Klal Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Hachi, there are too many. Nefishilu tuvi bati. We have too many. We have 6 in total, and we only have 4 compartments. Says the Gemara, we must combine some of them. Ella ki migoy gadol umigoy gadol. These 2 psukim, one that begins ki migoy gadol, who is a great nation, umigoy gadol, the other passage that says that Klal Yisrael is a Gadol, a great nation. These two are very similar. They're discussing our Dveikus Hashem through Torah, through Tefillah. The Dami Lahadadi, they're very similar to each other. B'chad Beisa, therefore they're placed together in one compartment. The same thing regarding the other parashas. Ashrecha Yisrael, fortunate is Klal Yisrael, Umika Amcha Yisrael, and the pasuk that says Umika Amcha Yisrael, both of them contain the greatness of Klal Yisrael regarding Hashem's Yeshua of Klal Yisrael, redemption from above, of the nations and our strength over the nations. So they too are very similar. B'chad Beisa, they belong together in one compartment. Oya Nisa Lekim, and the next pasuk, which describes Hashem's miracles performed for us, that goes into the third compartment. L'sitche Elyon, B'chad Beisa, and the final compartment contains the pasuk, the parasha of L'sitche Elyon, where Hashem places Klal Yisrael Elyon supreme above the nations of the earth. So in conclusion, Hashem wears tefillin. What's contained in Hashem's tefillin, full of praise and shvach and pride about Klal Yisrael. The four compartments contain as follows. One compartment contains Kimiga Gadol and Umiga Gadol, which both describe the Dveikus, the connection of Yisrael with Hashem. The next compartment is comprised of Ashrecha Yisrael and Umika Amcha Yisrael, which describes our Yeshua. Hanisa Lakim is the third compartment, which describes the Nisim that Hashem performed for us when He took us out of Mitzrayim. Sitcha Elyon, where Klal Yisrael is placed supreme above all the other nations, that is the fourth and final parsha and compartment. Continues the Gemara, V'kulu ksivi be'edrei, just as the Tefillin Sheroish of Hashem contains these parashas, these psukim, similarly Hashem also has Tefillin be'edrei on His arm, so to speak, kaviyachal, and all these same parashas are contained in the Tefillin Sheyad as well. Continues the Gemara. Amar Abin Bar Ada, Amar Yitzchak. Kol haroga loved beis hakneses. If somebody is accustomed to coming to shul, to daven, v'lo ba yom echad, and one day he hasn't arrived, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashal bo, Hashem inquires in him. Where is he? Shenema ribochem yirei Hashem shomeh b'kol avdoi. Who amongst you fears Hashem, who listens to the voice of his Eved? This is referring to davening. As the Mashar explains, the Eved is the Shliach Tzibur, who serves Hashem like a Kayin in the Beis HaMikdash. So where is the Yirei Hashem, who used to come, who comes every day to hear the Tefillah, to join the Tefillah B'Tzibur? Asher holach achasheichem. Today he went after darkness, and he has no light. Continues the Gemara. In l'dvar mitzvah halach. If he's involved in doing an act of mitzvah, noigaloi, certainly it's light for him, meaning a person who's involved in doing a mitzvah, we know isik b'mitzvah, if you're immersed in doing a mitzvah, pater mitzvah, you're absolved. You're pater from doing anything else, and therefore it justifies his absence from shul. However, v'im l'dvar reshus halach, if he merely went to perform a dvar reshus, an elective task, it is not light for him, it is actually dark, it is choshech. Yiftach b'shem Hashem. The pasuk concludes, he must trust in Hashem's name. So this is an explanation. What's wrong with missing the Tefillah B'Tzibur to go perform a task? My time, why? Mishum dahavali livtoyach b'shem Hashem v'lei batach. He should have trusted, he should have relied on Hashem, and he hadn't done so. The Mashar explains that this is referring to a person who seeks to earn livelihood for his family. It's an obligation for him to earn a parnasa. So he thinks in his mind that perhaps he needs to be absent from shul on occasion of his effort to procure livelihood, to earn a parnasa. Says the pasuk, that is not so. The pasuk comes to refute that argument. Parnasa, a livelihood, indeed is a very big obligation. A person must be mefarnes his mishpacha, must provide, must sustain his family, but a person should not justify his absence from Tefillah B'Tzibur, from shul, on account of a needing to earn a parnasa. He should have trusted in Hashem's name, should have come to shul and davened. That would have been his greatest effort to actually earn, to improve his financial situation. There was once a story of a Yid's running out of shul before the end of davening. The Rav turns to him and says, Rabbi Yid, where are you running? He says, I'm going to earn a livelihood. I'm going to running after parnasa. So the Rav says to him, and are you sure that by running out of shul you're running towards your parnasa? Meaning, the biggest ishtadlus, the most successful effort that a person can do for parnasa is actually to stay in shul, to arrive and to be mispal with the tzibur, and trust in Hashem and beseech Hashem's mercy and be Me'ir Rachim, and to be Zeicha through that to a bracha and hatzlacha in all those endeavors. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, B'shah HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba b'beis HaKnesses. Hashem arrives to shul. V'lo yimotzav ha'asara. There are only 9 people. One person's absent, and there's no minyan. They can't say Kaddish. They can't say Kedusha. Miyadu koyes. Hashem immediately is angry. Shanemar madua basi. Why is it that I came ve'in ish? There was no man. The 10th man was missing. Karasi ve'in oina. I've called and there was no response, meaning that the 9 people can't say Dvarim Shabbat. They're not a minyan. They can't say Kaddish and Baruch Hu. They can't be oina on an account of this man who's missing. If a person designates a set makom, a makom kavua for his tefillah, Elokei Avram be'ezrei, Hashem who helped Avram Avinu will help him as well. Since Avram Avinu embodied this type of behavior, he was kaveh makom, he set himself a set place, a kvias makom for his tefillah, like the Gemara will explain. Ukeshemeis, when this individual passes away, they eulogize him, ay anav, ay chassid, a humble man. Woe is to us who are missing this devout person, this chassid, who is mitalmido shel Avram Avinu, who is a talmid, a disciple of Avram Avinu, who also acted in this manner. Says the Gemara of Avram Avinu, menol on the kava makim. What do we find that Avram Avinu had this custom of kriyas makim, techsiv ayashkim Avram abayker. Avram got up in the morning, El Hamakim. He returned to that specific place, Asher Amad Sham, where he had previously stood. Vein Amida, the term Amad denotes tefillah. Vein Amida la tefillah. Shanama Rayamoid Pinchas Vayifalel. So Amida is referring to tefillah. Avram Avinu returned to his Makim Kavua to daven, specifically over there. So a Yid who follows in his footsteps of Avram Avinu and is particular about being Kaveh Makim, about returning to his set makom kavua and davening just there, he is a talmid of Avram Avinu, and he is zeicha, he merits the same divine ezer v'siyua and help and assistance as was granted to Avram Avinu, Elokei Avram be'ezrei. Now, how do we know that this person is an anav and a chassid? Why do they eulogize him as being an anav and a chassid just on account of him being kaveh makom tefillasoi? Said the Mefarshim that a person who is so particular, who takes such a great interest, takes davening so seriously to the extent that he's kaveh makom, and he makes sure that he davens only in a set place, and he's worried, concerned about all the different details and environmental conditions of his tefillah, he takes it seriously. Certainly, we can presume that he has developed the attribute of humility, of anova, and of chasidus, that are so crucial. Anova is so crucial to having your tefillahs accepted and being able to have kavanah, having the right concentration. And anova certainly leads to the next level, which is chasidus, as is brought down in Chazal elsewhere, that anova brings a person to chasidus. So this person who takes his davening so seriously, certainly he is a anav and a chasid. I want to say a very interesting pshat. Why is this connected with Avram Avinu? Why is this called Mitalmidav Shel Avram Avinu? So the Mishnah Perkei Avos contrasts Avram Avinu with Bilam Harasha. The Mishnah says that Avram Avinu was an anav, he was humble. Bilam Harasha, on the other hand, was full of pride, was a Baal Gaiva. Now we find that Bilam, when he went to curse Klal Yisrael, he went to one place, wasn't successful. So they decided they're going to go find a different place. Let's go find a different location, so that we could try again to curse Klal Yisrael. He attributed his failure to the makom, to the place. He didn't personally take the blame on himself. Well, I'm inadequate, I'm incapable. No, he blamed it on the makom. There must be something wrong with this place here. He was too full of pride. He was about gaiva to take the blame. He attributed it to the makom. There must be something wrong, deficient with this makom here. Let's find another place which is more conducive to doing the task at hand. So that's the way about gaiva deals with it. However, Avram Avinu, who was an anav, he wasn't dissuaded. He didn't attribute it to the place, to the makom. He went back day after day, plugged away, went back and davened again and again. Why wasn't I successful yesterday? It must have been something wrong with me. I must have not davened well enough. Let me go back again the next day and daven again. But at that place, dafka, at that makom kavua, has nothing to do with the makom. There's nothing wrong with the makom. There's something wrong with me. I'm deficient. I must improve in my tefillah, in my efforts, to be zeicha, to merit the acceptance of my tefillah. So a person who's kaveh makom tefillah, he indeed is a Talmud of Avraham Avinu, as opposed to being a Talmud of Bilam Rasha. He has the attribute of Anova, just as Avraham Avinu displayed by being particular about Yimakim Kavua B'Shas Tefillah. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Chelboy, Amar Rav Huna, Hayoyitzim Beis HaKnesses, person who takes leave of the shul of davening al yafsiya psiya gasa, don't take big strides. It appears as if the whole shul experience is a burden upon him. Amar Abayi lo yamoran, this is only said al lameipak when he's going out to do his private business, aval lameya, but if he's headed for the Beis HaMedrash, he's going in, he's entering a Beis HaMedrash to learn, he's going michayil al chayil, from tefillah to Torah, from one level to the other, mitzvah lamirit, in that case he should run. Shenemar nirda for l'das Hashem, we run to gain knowledge of Hashem. Amar Rav Zera Meireish, at the outset, initially, when I used to notice the Rabbanon, the Chachamim, the Karati Lepirka b'Shabbat, they would run to the Pirka, to the Shir, to the lecture on Shabbos. Amina, I would think, Machal Rabbanon Shabbat. They seem to be Machal, desecrating the Shabbos, since on Shabbos one is meant to walk leisurely and not meant to run. Why are they running? However, given the Shaman Alahad Rav Tanchum, Omer Shubban Levi, once I heard the halacha in the name of Rav Tanchum, Omer Shubban Levi, who says as follows: a person should run to a dvar halacha to hear a dvar halacha. Afilu b'Shabbat, even on Shabbos, it is permitted. Shenemar Achrei Hashem Yelechu K'Arya Yishag. A person should follow Hashem just like he's running away from a lion, and certainly even on Shabbos, if a person is in a situation where he's threatened by a lion, it's pekuach nefesh, he must run. So a person who's going Achrei Hashem Yelechu, who is pursuing Hashem and His Torah, he can run even on Shabbos, and therefore Ano Nami Rahitna, I too have begun to conduct myself accordingly and run to the shir even on Shabbos. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Zera, Agra de Pirkarata, the main reason for reward to those who attend the Pirka, the public lecture, even though most of the people, not necessarily do they even comprehend or understand the content of the Pirka, of the Drasha, on account of what? Do they receive schar? Rata is because of their running, because of the effort that they expend in arriving and attending the drasha. Amar Abaye, Agra de Kala, the schar for joining the Kala, that's the lecture that took place the Shabbos preceding the festivals Yom Tovim, where they discussed the halachas of the Yom Tovim. On what account does a person get schar for attending the Kala? Duchka. It is because of the duchka, of the crowding, the feeling of being squeezed. On that account, one receives the reward for coming to the Kala. Amarava Agor de Shmaita Svara. What is the main schar for a Shmaita, for a halachic discussion? It's on account of Svara, the effort that one invests in truly understanding and delving into the deeper meaning behind the halachas and the learning. He tries to comprehend and invests a lot of effort in that. That is the main source of schar. Amrav Papa Agor de Beitami Shtikusa. What is the schar for arriving, for coming to a mourner's home? Shtikusa. That is on account of remaining silent, because keeping silent under these circumstances provides the aval, the mourner, with even a greater consolation than expressing it in words. By keeping silent, one implies that the tragedy at hand is too great to express with words. It is beyond words, and this will provide the mourner with even a greater consolation than had it been expressed in words. Amar Marzutra, Agra de Tanisat Tzidkasa, the main schar for fasting is taking the money that one saved from having to spend it on food and giving it to tzedakah. Amar Sheish is Agra de Speda. What is the schar for a eulogy? The luya is by moving the audience to tears, by raising one's voice in grief and mourning and moving everybody emotionally to tears. Amar Avashi Agra de Beiluli Mili, the schar for attending a wedding, a chasen, a mili, is by expressing words of shvach, of praise to the chasen and giving him simcha in that manner. Amar Avhuna Kol Mespal Achori Beis HaKnesses. One who davens Achori behind the shul doesn't join the tzibur in their tefillah. Nikra Rasha, he's called a Rasha. Shenema Saviv Rishaim Yishalochem. The Rishaim, they surround, they go outside, they don't join the rest of the crowd. Amar Abayle Amar, this is only a concern if he doesn't turn to face the shul. But if he does face the shul, In that case, less lamba, it's not a concern. What is the reason for this? Because when one davens outside the shul and doesn't face the shul, it appears as if he is attributing power to another power, to something alternative to Hashem chas v'shalom, and therefore he's considered to be a rasha. But if he faces the shul, that implies that he is joining the tzibur in their tefillah to Hashem. However, there was a person called Matzle Achor Beis Knishta. He was davening behind the shul. He was not facing the shul. Chalaf Eliyahu Nabi passed by. Chazeh. He saw him. Idam Leketayi appeared to him as a Arab merchant. Amarle. He told this Yid Kadoy Bar, like two powers. Kaimas Kamimar. You stand in front of your master. Meaning, it appears as if there are two masters. There are two powers in the world. The tzibur, the public, is davening to one, and you're davening to the other. Sholav Safsar. He pulled out a sword, the katla, and he killed him. Amarle Ahum Rabbon Bibi Barabai. V'Amilo. Rav Bibi Rav Nachum Yitzchak. What does it mean in the pasuk? Karum zelus of Adam. Amalei elu dvarim. It's referring to dvarim, to words she'im debrum shalolam. They stand at the pinnacle of the world. These are the words of tefillah which rise to the heavens. Karum. These are words of rum that are brum shalolam of bnei Adam, despite the fact that they're so important and so chashiv. Bnei Adam is zalzal b'hem. People are mezalzel. They belittle. They don't treat it with the proper respect. They don't invest enough effort in tefillah. Rav Yochanan and Rav Elazar Damitavayu, they both said as follows. What is the pshat in the pasuk? Karum zelus of bnei Adam. Kivan shenitztarich Adam labriis. A person who's mezalzel himself, he belittles himself, he's dependent on others for sustenance. Panav mishtanis kekrum. His face changes shades of colors like a krum. Shenema karum zelus of bnei Adam. A person who's zelus, who is belittled by people, he's dependent on others, he appears like a krum. My krum. What is this krum? Says the Gemara. Rav Dimi. When Rav Dimi came, he said, Omar, there's a bird in the cities near the ocean. It's called a krum. What happens to this bird? When the sun rises, this bird changes into many shades of colors. So similarly, this person who's dependent on others for sustenance, he's full of shame and embarrassment. His face alternates between red and white. As the Gemara says elsewhere, when a person gets embarrassed, the blood disappears and the red disappears and his face turns white. It is as if this person was judged to undergo a judgment of fire and water. Why fire and water? Because fire is red and water is like white. So to this person's face alternates between red and white. It is as if he's undergoing a din of fire and water. You've empowered a person to be our debtor, that we owe money to him, and as a result, we've endured fire and water. A person should take extra care and be diligent regarding Tfilas HaMincha, even though it's very difficult. It may be right in the middle of the day. He has to tear himself away from his work, from his activities. He should nevertheless be extra zohar regarding the special Tfilas HaMincha, because we find that Tfilas HaMincha contains exceptional powers. Sharei Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu leinenel b'Tfilas HaMincha. Eliyahu, when he was confronting the Nevi Abal, when was he answered? He was answered at the time of Tfilas HaMincha. Shenema v'ahi ba'leis HaMincha, in the beginning of the time of Mincha. V'yigash Eliyahu v'yomer, Aneini Hashem, Aneini, Hashem, answer me. He was asking Hashem to help him prove that He is the ultimate power in the world. Please Hashem, have fire, heavenly fire, come down from the heaven and consume the korban. Why did he repeat it twice? They shouldn't cast doubt and say, well, it's just witchcraft. Prove it unequivocally that you are Hashem, the ultimate power. So we see that the mincha time carries with it a special power, and a person should be extra careful. Similarly, regarding Tfilas Arvis, it is also very special. My tefillah should be set before you like incense. The raising of my hands like the tefillah of evening. So we see that Tfilas Erev carries a special significance and special power. Similarly, regarding morning tefillah, in the morning you will listen to my voice. In the morning I will set forth to you, and I will look forward to your acceptance and responding to my tefillah. So you see every single tefillah, Shachar, Mincha, Ma'ariv, they're all special, everyone's unique, and one is to take care and be expend extra effort into each tefillah separately, not say, well, it's just repeating, Mincha is a repetition of yesterday's Mincha, every tefillah, every day is special and unique. If one benefits from a suda, from a wedding, and does not gladden, does not bring simcha to the chasna, he is neglecting the spirit of 5 voices. The lashon of koil is mentioned 5 times regarding Shenemar, kol sasain, the sound of joy, kol simcha, of gladdening, kol chasam, kol kala, kol oimrim hoidosh Hashem tzivakos, the sound of people who are praising Hashem. So when a person is not Mesameach Chasam V'Kala, does not get involved in gladdening the Chasam V'Kala, he's neglecting the power of Chasam V'Kala, which contains the power of 5 koilos. If he does Mesameach Chasam V'Kala, what is his reward? Rav Yeshua ben Levi is Zeicha Torah. He is Zeicha to Torah. Shenitna mechamisha koilos. Torah was given with 5 koilos. Shenemar, it says by Matan Torah, Vayibay Mashlishi b'Yos Haboika v'Koilos Ubrakim. There was a sound and the thunder of an uncovered alahar, a heavy cloud on the sky. We call it shofar, the sound of a shofar. We call it shofar. So we see the term koil 5 times regarding Matan Torah. So when a person is sameach chasan v'kala, he is zeicha to the koilos of Matan Torah, which was the Yom Simchas Livi, the day of the wedding between Hashem and Klal Yisrael. And with regard to that, the Torah describes it as having chamisha koilos, containing the power of 5 koilos. So to this yid who's sameach chasan v'kala, he merits the power of Chamisha Koilos. He merits Torah, which was given by Chamisha Koilos. Says the Gemara, there were only 5 Koilos there. V'oksiv, there's another passage which says that they witnessed the Koilos, and that's an additional time that the Torah uses the word Koilos. We have 6. Says the Gemara, that's the same one as before. It's simply describing the previous Koilos. Oisan Koilos, the Koid Mat Torah Havu. This last pasuk, which says that the nations saw the Koilos, they witnessed the sound, which was a miracle. Nobody ever sees sound waves, but in that case, by Klal Yisrael, by Matan Torah, they actually saw the sound, the waves of the koilos. So this pasuk of Chala'am Roimus HaKoilos, it's not an additional, it's not a 6th koil, it's merely describing the 5 koilos mentioned earlier. Omar, what is the schar, a person who's Mesameach Hasan Kilu Hikriv Toida, it's as if he was Makar V'Korban Toida, because at the end of the pasuk there of Kol Sas and Kol Simcha, the pasuk includes Mevim Toida Beis Hashem, as if he brings a Toida to Hashem. Rav Nacham Yitzchak Omar, Kilu Bona Achaz Mechuz Yishalayim, it's as if he had rebuilt the ruins, one of the ruins of Yerushalayim, because assisting in a building of a Jewish home, that is a restoration of Klal Yisrael, a restoration of the Gula of the ruins of Yerushalayim. Shenemak Yoshev es Shvus Haaretz K'var Yishonim, Hashem, I will restore the Eretz, the land, to its former state, and that again is the conclusion of the pasuk mentioned earlier, K'asas and K'asimcha. So, in summary, a person who is Mesameach Hasan, he is Zeicha to Torah, he is Zeicha to, as if he was Makar V'Korban Toida, and as if he rebuilt one of the Churvos Yerushalayim. Concludes the Gemara of Rav Chelba, Rav Huna, Kol Adam Yesh B'Yir Shemayim, person who has fear of heaven, Dvar Shmayim. He merits that his words should be accepted. He has an effect on people, can influence people for the good. Shenemar, Soif Davar Kol Nishma, the words will be heard as Elakim Yori, from one who fears Hashem. Mai Kizeh Kol Adam, the pasuk concludes that a person who fears Hashem, this is the whole person. What does this mean? Amar Belezer, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kol Ha'olam Kulei, the whole world, Le'nivrel B'shvil Zeh. This person is the embodiment, is the true purpose of the world. The whole world was created for this purpose, who serves Hashem properly and fears Hashem. He is equal to the whole world. The combined value of the whole entire world equals merely this one person who is a tzaddik, who is a adam, who is a yer Hashem. The whole world was created to accompany this person, to keep him company, to serve him, to build his highways, to build his airports, in order to serve the person who is a tzaddik. Somebody knows that his friend has the custom of greeting him. He shouldn't wait for the person to greet him. He should precede him and say Shalom Aleichem. You should look after, you should search for Shalom, you should run after Shalom, you should seek peace. You shouldn't wait for the person to greet you first. If somebody greets you and he did not respond in kind, it's called a thief. You've robbed the ani. Now, what does it mean to rob the ani? He doesn't have much belongings to rob from him. Zok Rashi. Rashi explains it's speaking about an ani who all he has is the greeting. He greeted you. He can't give you much more than just a greeting. And you need to respond in kind. Otherwise, you are robbing the ani of the one thing that he has. So a person must take care to respond and to precede his friend and to be Mavakish Shalom. The Gemara in fact says that there were tzaddikim who, when they went in the street, they greeted anybody, even a Nachri Shavishuk.